What's up, guys? This is the Gospel According to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. It means a lot. Guys, let me ask you a question. When you think about Mr. Spock, what do you think? What does the character of Mr. Spock mean to you? To me, Mr. Spock has always meant an amazing character, number one, a legend. Mr. Spock is he's a symbol of logic and thought. And he's also a very, very loyal friend. You know, these are the things that always impressed upon me when I was growing up. That if Mr. Spock had your back, your chances of winning probably go up by about 95.5% in any situation that you're in. Because you know that he's going to give you his best. And you know his character. You know, he's not only Vulcan, but he's also half human. You know, so even though he represents as a Vulcan, there's always this very interesting and compelling side to his character where he realizes the balance of who he is. You know what I mean? So he's always been amazing to watch. It's played by Leonard Nimoy. Perfection. You know, absolute perfection. You know, and he is part of the big three of Star Trek that I consider to be, you know, the big three. That would be, of course, Mr. Spock, Dr. McCoy, Captain Kirk. Like I said before, Mr. Spock represents logic, cold hard logic and facts. Dr. McCoy, I always saw as more of a moral kind of guy. You know, his struggles are with morals, not the can we, but should we, you know. And of course, they present these to Captain Kirk, who is trying to do whatever it takes to complete the mission and to win. You know what I mean? So it has always been very interesting TV for me, and of course movies and things. But guys, what we have here, we have some nut job who has decided to dedicate a whole book to proving how wrong Mr. Spock is and how consistently wrong he is over the course of, you know, Star Trek and his life and things like that. So I got this article here. It's on Wired.com. And get this. Here's the headline. Turns out Spock is kind of bad at logic. Turns out Spock is kind of bad at logic. Like, that's all you can do to somebody like that. Like, just smack him upside the head. What's wrong with you? Look at you. You're pathetic. All right, but anyway, it goes on, right? And it says here, Julia Galef, host of the Rationally Speaking podcast and co-founder of the Center for Applied Rationality, now there's a humdinger, is not impressed with the hyper-rational Vulcans on Star Trek. And she says, Spock is held up as this exemplar of logic and reason and rationality. But he's set up, in my opinion, as almost a weak caricature, a straw man of reason and rationality, because he keeps making all these dumb mistakes. Galef says in episode 462 of the Geek's Guide to the Galaxy podcast. That's the show's way of proving that, logic and reason and rationality aren't actually all that great. In the franchise, Spock makes confident predictions based on his superior Vulcan mind. Galef was curious to see exactly how often these predictions pan out. I went through all the Star Trek episodes, all of them, because I got nothing else going on in my life. And I went through all the movies, all the transcripts that I could find, and searched for any instance in which Spock is using the words odds, probability, chance, definitely, probably, etc. She says, I cataloged all instances in which Spock made a prediction, and that prediction either came true or it didn't. The results, which appear in Galef's new book, The Scout Mindset, are devastating. Not only does Spock have a terrible track record, events he describes as impossible actually happen 83% of the time, but his confidence level is actually anti-correlated with reality. The more confident he says he is that something will happen, that the ship will crash, or that they will find survivors, the less likely it is to happen. And the less confident he is in something, the more likely it is to happen, Galef says. What an idiot. Spock's biggest weaknesses is his failure to understand that other people don't always behave logically. He also makes no attempt to update his approach, even when his mistakes get his crewmates killed. All right, listen, just stop. Stop the nonsense, all right? I gotta stop this right here. Are we going to ignore how many times Spock actually saved the day? They're talking about he gets his crewmates killed. You guys are out of your freaking minds. Did you even watch the show? Just watch Star Trek 2. They wouldn't have made it if not for Spock doing what he did. Ship out of danger? No, he didn't say, yes, Captain, I know the ship is out of danger. No, he said, ship out of danger? He took a chance because he knew that the needs of the many are outweighed. No, the needs of the few are outweighed by the needs of the many. The needs of the many are outweighed by the needs of the few, or the one. Yes, I was crying my eyes out, so forgive me. It takes a while to get that memory back, you know what I mean? I kind of put it out of my mind. That's the first time I ever cried in a movie, Star Trek 2, all right? So the point is that Spock is a dedicated officer. He does the best that he can. He's not there to be perfect. That's the reason why you idiots have characters like Ray or Michael Burnham who are perfect and impeccable and they're never wrong and they're boring as hell to watch on TV in the movies. You know what I mean? Because you feel like there's something wrong with being wrong. You can be wrong. Actually, the premise of Star Trek is exploration. It's science. What does that mean? It means a lot of trial and error. All right, if Spock says something is impossible, it's because it was previously believed to be impossible. That is what made it such compelling TV, because it took our imaginations and it said, you know what you think is impossible? Turns out it's possible. And then they find out how to deal with it. And then later on, actually, they kind of have a joke. Usually at most of the end of most Star Trek episodes usually ends with Kirk, McCoy, Spock, or whoever, maybe Scotty or something like that, standing around. And they kind of bounce off of each other, you know, what they had been through. And sometimes they get a laugh at Spock's expense because it challenged his notion of logic. Okay, and that's actually the point of it all. You know what I mean? Like the time when Spock thought that Kirk had died and he killed him. You know, when he was in heat, you know, he was looking to get some ass or whatever, and he killed Kirk, or he thought he did. And then later on, he found out that Kirk was alive and he had an emotional response and they called him on it. You know what I mean? That was a beautiful moment in Star Trek history because we saw this iconic friendship that was budding. You know what I mean? And that's part of the appeal, the huge appeal of Star Trek. It's not about how many times somebody is right or wrong. You're missing the whole point. Spock wasn't made to be perfect. Once again, that you're confusing that with Michael Burnham. You know, you're confusing that with sheer fucking hubris that you find on Star Trek Picard. You know, where you're just not allowed to be wrong. And if you're wrong, and if there are casualties and consequences of your wrong decision, then all of a sudden we forget about your whole record. You know what I mean? So you're allowed to disgrace a legendary character, like this hoe is trying to do right here. She goes on to say real quick, he's not a spring chicken, Galef says. He's interacted with non-Vulcans before. And so presumably he's had lots of opportunities to see that actually lots of people don't behave the way he thinks they rationally should behave. And yet he fails to learn from these instances and mispredictions because instead he just shrugs and says, well, the world didn't behave the way it should have. Do you hear the way that she's trying to paint our Mr. Spock? Like, he's just so cavalier about it. You know, he just fails and he's like, whatever, well, the world should have been what I thought it was. This is a gross mischaracterization of what Star Trek is and what the character is. And I'm pushing back against it. You know what I mean? It's BS is what it is. You know, so I just wanted to show you guys because, you know, Mr. Spock is one of those characters that people enjoy having a go at, which is the reason why we get what we get from new Star Trek today. Because they want to challenge everything. You know, everything is a big vanity project. We want to be the ones to tear down the icons and build up whatever we want to build up from the ashes. That's basically what we're dealing with today. you know? And this is just the latest attempt at doing so. So, you know, far be it from me to notice this and not say anything about it. So I figured I would place it on your lap and let you have a little chuckle at it and let me know how you feel about this. Is this trick? Is this heifer? Is this skank onto something here? I don't know her personally. I'm sorry. I'm having fun, guys. But do you think she has a point? That Mr. Spock is just, he's terrible at logic. He's just wrong, you know, ignoring the fact that he is, in fact, half human. So he's allowed to be imperfect. And even Vulcans are not supposed to be perfect, like I said before. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think she's got a point here? Like, what is Mr. Spock to you? You know, so you get in the comment section, you know, let me know. What do you think about all of this? Do you think that, you know, that she's right? Do you think that she's wrong? Do you think that Mr. Spock is just Mr. Spock and he's a well-done character? I mean, I don't know. Get in the comment section, let me know. As always, you can like, you can share, you can subscribe, and you can catch me on Twitter. I'm there. You know, stop telling me I should get off Twitter. I keep telling you guys, I'm there kind of like as a scientist. I'm there to see the social movements, you know, of the world. You know, I'm there for networking with my brothers and sisters who were in this fandom, you know. That's what it is. So cut it out, guys. I love you, but cut that out. So anyway, guys, catch me on the next one, and thank you for listening. This is the Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.